film Autumn Sonata explores relationships between a mother and her daughter, and is the first collaboration between the two Bergmans, Ingrid Bergman and Ingmar Bergman. Autumn Sonata begins with us getting introduced to Eva and her husband, and even from this first scene you understand a bit about the two. Eva has a bit of an uncertain identity, and has a hard time feeling loved by him. Also, that her husband is much older than her. This is an interesting narrative trick, letting Victor speak to the camera directly, and it's just one of the many narrative tricks Bergman uses throughout the film. Eventually, we get into the main premise of the film, where we learn that Eva has not seen her mother Charlotte for 7 years. And after Eva has learned that Charlotte's boyfriend Leonardo has died, she invites her mother to stay with her. Soon after arrival, you meet another daughter named Helena, who was disabled and got put into a nursing home by Charlotte that Eva took her out of. This is where you can begin to see the issues of their relationship, where Charlotte is clearly only interested in her own pain and not that of her daughter Helena. For example, after seeing her daughter for the first time since she sent her away, you can see her talking to herself, saying, "I'm to be put to shame, that's the idea," as well as "a guilty conscience, always a guilty conscience." This realization hurts Eva and reflects her back to her childhood and the pain she had suffered then. What was at first a happy reunion is now dissolving into confrontation between the two women. When diving deeper into the mother and daughter relationship present within this film, you really hit the climax of their relationship when Eva begins to tell Charlotte about her neglect as a parent and how selfish she is for only caring about her music. It's very evident in a powerful scene between Eva and her mother, where Eva plays Chopin's Prelude for her talented pianist mother, where her mother then knocks down this performance, in contrast with her emotional life. We then watch Charlotte take over, and while she is clearly proud of herself, we see Eva in the background, and her face holds a multitude of emotions: jealousy, admiration, and possibly even hatred. The scene itself is very powerful because it brings you in even deeper into the characters' lives, seeing the mother engulfed in herself and her talents, and watching Eva conveying her feelings of disownment and rage, but also with a bit of admiration. Bergman truly conveys this even with the clothes they are wearing, as Charlotte is dressed in a red gown with pearls and Eva is in a green long-sleeve shirt with a white collar. There doesn't have to be any words in the scene in order to be completely engulfed in the two characters' feelings. With this long shot, we are completely invested in their emotional lives. Now comes the climax. If anyone was unsure of Eva's feelings of her mother, and now drunkenly all comes out and there's absolutely nothing Charlotte can say in order to defend herself. It all happens after a nightmare, where Eva is then confronted by her mother on whether she likes her or not. Then finally, the conversation both of them avoided their entire lives comes free. This is where we learn the true extent, where Eva exposes how she was on tour for most of her childhood, and then had an affair leaving both Eva and her dad for 8 months. This verbal violence present between mother and daughter in this film, at first you feel sickened by the power and pain she is in while speaking, as she cries and pleads. But soon you see, neither the mother or daughter are blameless. Eva's interrogation on the mother starts to seem rather unfair, and her perception on how things are constantly skewed. Even Bergman putting her in those huge glasses, and when she told Victor that she would come down dressed as a widow and Charlotte comes down in a red gown. Nothing is good enough for Eva. When we learn Charlotte tried to make it up for past neglect, it was even more obliterating for Eva. When looking at who controls the narrative within Autumn Sonata, I would argue that it is Helena who controls it. Helena suffers from a progressively worsening disease. She can barely speak, and when she does, it's barely intelligible, and her body movements are uncontrollable withers. She shows Eva's anguish and paralysis, the side that her mother doesn't want to deal with. She can be seen as Eva's inner child, where she is verbally and physically paralyzed. Although Eva is a grown adult now, she is always going to be the little girl who got overshadowed by her mother, robbed of her speech, and became her doll she would play with only when she had time. When Helena fell to the floor screaming for her mama, it was Eva. When she was shown crawling across the floor, she portrays a baby, or a fearfully wounded adult. Helena is a metaphor, an image for the mother's infantile needs and pain as well as the daughter's. Autumn Sonata shows pain and the desire to be loved unconditionally, and shows all the pent-up emotions between a mother and daughter in one evening. It shows a shutdown between a mother and daughter in resentment and regret. The viewers feel like intruders hearing this conversation, and it is extremely hard to imagine a mother and daughter looking into reality like this. This film can even be seen to relate to Bergman's personal life, where her celebrated career as an actor took more of a priority in her life than her children. Especially after marrying Roberto Rossellini, she went years without seeing her daughter from her first marriage. In the 1950s, she was all over the news for the scandal of being called an unfit mother,